Okay, it's September the 22nd, 2019. George Webb here on the Diplomatic Back Channel on the Potomac across from Dahlgren Surface Warfare Center and also home to submarine launch ballistic missile program for the Polaris, the Geist Polaris program and the Geist Trident program and all the other Bissell missile iterations. And it does seem to be that Bissell missile now is becoming a verb and a noun. You Bissell a little bit, meaning create fear, and then you sell a missile, you Bissell a little bit over here, and you sell a missile over there. And that seems to be what Geist and the folks that have followed on from Geist have done for the last 50 to, well, probably 75 years now. And one of those people is our Sue M. Gordon, who is our whistleblower. She starts her career as a Bissell missile tracker. We don't know if Bissell was doing joint ventures at that time yet or not with the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union hadn't fallen yet, but she's certainly tracking Russian missiles, and she is one of these kind of cadre of people that seem to be either in the State Department or the CIA that are very close to this Russian joint venture. And of course, a very close friend of Susan M. Gordon's is Nellie Orr. A very good friend. Again, this Ukrainian connection. Ukraine seems to be the storehouse or the store for these Bissell missiles. Then now we add a third person, which is Vera Epstein, and now we have this sort of triad, no pun intended, sort of a Bissell missile triad with these women. And these women seem to be all at the top of CIA, kind of cloistered inside of CIA, sort of at running the order desk, if you will. And the folks doing the delivery, or the people out in the field, seem to be the Peter Strzok's of the world and those sort of folks. The CIA infiltrates into the FBI seem to be running this nuclear security game around the world. So it's very interesting. Now, there's also a connection here to Libya and a connection to Syria as far as weapons running. We know that Joe Schmitz, who's placed into one of the Five Eyes guys spies that's placed into the Trump campaign, is very connected to the weapons factories in Ukraine and also Bulgaria. But it definitely seems like the order desk. The order desk is Ukraine through Victoria Nuland, through Jonathan Weiner. Not only for Libya, Jonathan Weiner obviously being the special envoy for Libya, but also Syria and also all the seven sisters of this of these David Petraeus plans for taking over 7 different countries. Wesley Clark also talks about these 7 different notebooks, 7 different invasions, sort of the way the CIA thinks of things is in a continuous line, like a pipeline, and continuous dominoes, and they seem to use that number 7 quite a bit. So we don't have all the details on Sue Gordon's career with the CIA, but we do know that she was a key person involved in the State Department communications with these folks in Benghazi. And remember, it's not just CIA, it's not just FBI, it's not just any one group. These things are task forces. So I only need one person or 2 people in each one of these agencies to pull together a task force, like Task Force Orange or Task Force Blue, in order to do a topple, in order to do a Humpty Dumpty, in order to do a takedown, so that we can then divide up the assets for our Intel, InQtel investment community, or whatever investment consortium we dream up after the topple is over. So we have that. We have her husband now, James Gordon, seems to be very tied to what looks like a cutout company in Alexandria, Virginia. The same place. It's not named Rapid Deployment Force, but it's as close as you can get to the name Rapid Deployment Force, and we'll have that name for you the next time in our next video. It just escapes me right now, but it seems like it's Rapid Deployment Force. It reminds you very much of Global Osprey, reminds you very much of General Grange, working with Tyler Drumheller and the CIA to ship these weapons. Again, covert, not approved by the president, not approved by the Congress, the Gang of 8. These are covert State Department initiated projects for private gain, for private investment consortiums like InQtel being on the technology side, and other companies like Cruz and Associates, or Cruz Pacific and Associates, for the Peter Strzok's of the world, the people that are actually providing the ammunition for and weapons for these covert wars. So we'll keep following up on Vera Epstein, 25 years at the CIA. She seems to be more on the intellectual property side. She also worked with Nellie Orr. If you look back to how these missiles get exfiltrated to other countries, there's two components. There's one at the higher level where the women seem to be in this story, which is the intellectual property, getting the plans and the 3D CAD drawings and so forth. And then the second is actually getting the hardware there, the physical infrastructure to make this stuff, the precision machinery. And that seems to be the sort of the Peter Strzok level in this. And the intellectual property seems to be coming from DARPA. Again, Geis, our missile person here across the river at Dahlgren, developing the Polaris missile and the Trident follow-on missile, seems to be the intellectual properties coming from DARPA. In the case of Club K, which is the most visible joint venture between CIA and the ex-members of the Russian intelligence community, the Club K missile seems to come from Skolkovo. Skolkovo was the channel they moved the missiles through. Obviously, Nellie Orr working with the Ukrainians, Ukrainian spy girls. We don't know if they were down here or not at Dahlgren, but that's certainly where you would do it. Of course, we have missiles being exfiltrated to Pakistan through the Babar missile. Again, we don't know if the sister-in-law, quote unquote, of Imran Awan, who was Natalia Sova, had the Ukrainian girls down here or not. But that seems to be how it was done. You have your Butina go date a missile engineer at some point in the night when the person goes to the bathroom or whatever. You stick the thumb drive in the computer and then you load all the classified information. That appears to be what is the modus operandi. So we have this kind of cutout name that they use for investing in these things. This investment consortium is called Gordon N. Epstein. Gordon M. Epstein is the false name that Vera Epstein uses. It's also the false name that Susan Gordon uses to invest in these In-Q-Tel and other investments like Cruz and Associates. So that's the sort of the developing story behind this Ukrainian whistleblower. And it is odd, again, that the people that are most, or maybe not surprising, that the people that are most involved in taking down Trump are the ones with the most to lose from using Ukraine as a weapons order desk. That's the big concept, and the euphemism being auto parts now with Imran Awan and his connection to the Eastern Shore of Maryland through this auto parts dealership named Tegawa, and his contact there with 123@mail.house.gov email being Tegwa, very close to Tegawa Auto Parts. Tegwa and Tegawa Auto Parts, very similar names. Auto parts seems to be this running joke, this running euphemism for weapons. They're about the same size, about the same weight, so it doesn't raise a lot of eyebrows when shipping them, either diplomatically or through regular channels. And Ukrainian auto parts, we have a ready spokesman for Ukrainian auto parts, and it just happens to be the person in Tommy Boy, Dan Aykroyd, who sells the auto parts, and he's Ukrainian, and he's from Mount Prospect, Illinois, which I know well and have visited. And if you don't remember, his name was Zelensky, and it just so happens that the Prime Minister of, or President of Ukraine is also named Zelensky. So now Zelensky Auto Parts, if you remember Dan Aykroyd saying this, Zelensky Auto Parts becomes our easy meme to describe illegally shipping weapons through the Ukraine order desk. So anytime you want to think about Susan M. Gordon organizing weapons through Jonathan Weiner to Libya, you can think Zelensky Auto Parts, because now Zelensky runs Ukraine. If you want to think about Syria, you want to think about Joe Schmitz shipping AK-47s and millions of rounds of ammunition, you can think Zelensky Auto Parts. It's a lot more fun. So we'll leave it right there with our Zelensky Auto Parts meme, our euphemism, meaning this group of high-level CIA women, some that have man hands, to be honest, and check out Susan Gordon's hands. It'll give you pause. And then at where the rubber meets the road, literally, is the Peter Strzok moving very heavy things. And I believe this is the same channel. By the way, the weapons channel is going to be, I believe, the same channel for the nuclear material. Again, I have a secured access program for shipping things with nuclear. Why not use that channel for shipping weapons? I don't need to create a new SAP. I just use an existing SAP.